Hey, thank you all. Next to last week, I've been telling you for the whole time that I thought we'd be here till the, I won't say bitter end, sweet end on the 31st. And I think that's going to come to fruition. Glad we have a budget deal. Glad we were able to deliver on transparency, and we're committed to the very end to keeping it transparent. We'll be coming in Monday afternoon. There was talks about coming in maybe Saturday, but in order to give both staff time to make sure that we get the drafts right and be able to go back and forth between the House and Senate, and also to give staff, frankly, time with their family over Memorial Day weekend. We're not going to do it disjointed where you come in Saturday and then maybe Monday. So we're coming in Monday. It is Memorial Day, but we'll come in most likely around 4 o'clock and then have gavel in, have a JCAB meeting, which will, take 2-3 hours, depending on how many questions there are, and we'll get the ball rolling on all of these bills. I think it's been a great week, very productive week, and I look forward to your questions.
On behalf of the press corps, thank you for not having Saturdays.
I meant to say, let me revise and extend my remarks. On behalf of the staff and the press corps, I decided I didn't want to come on a Saturday.
So we'll have all the bills up by Monday afternoon, you think, for this budget?
So I think you'll see the bills get published tomorrow.
Okay.
The desk, I think the House, from what I understand, may be coming in tomorrow. But as far as the Senate perspective, we will publish those bills. We won't have a legislative day tomorrow, so you'll see it reflected in all of our online record keeping as being filed Monday, but the bills will be published tomorrow for everyone to see.
So there'll be like a list or something?
Man, I'm not the IT guy. I have no idea.
You need a legislative tracking. So you won't meet tomorrow, correct?
You need to learn how to
That
use
is
it.
correct. We will not be having an official legislative day. I'll still be having meetings, but so if you're lonely, you can come see me. But
What do you make of this veto of Senate Bill 102, dealt with the police pensions and police retirement funds?
yeah, I've been so focused on trying to get the budget done, I haven't had a chance to actually look at his veto message. I saw his veto video, which was a new wrinkle, so we're the member who carried that bill, Senator Garvin, I think is trying to get enough commitment to override. I think that didn't have the emergency on it, so I think it's a 2/3 or 32 vote, and I don't know where she's at on that.
Is that part of the budget agreement of funding? Because it would be expensible and it deals with police pensions.
No, because it's from the pension fund. I think that fund is right at around 100% funded right now. 98. So I don't know the actual funding, but it's high on the list.
Are you one of the senators that would vote for going override?
I'm going to see what the caucus wants to do on that. I haven't been shy about trying to do overrides to make sure that whatever the legislative prerogative is, but I don't know. I doubt that I'd be number 32 on the list. If it's either going to be overwhelming one way or another, I'm assuming. But as far as there's a lot of movement out here on this. I think both some House members and Senate members want it overridden, and there's equal passions on the other side. So we'll see how it plays out.
Everything is still being finalized, I know, but is there a total number for the budget that we have finalized yet, or is it still kind of being worked out?
I don't have that in front of me, although, hold on one second.
It's like that water leak.
I'm not running from questions. We're not walking out. Let's see. This was just handed out in our caucus, and I'm sure it'll be published at some point.
Should be later this afternoon.
Should be later this afternoon. Let me see if this has the. No, I don't have that number on this sheet, but we'll get it to you as soon as possible.
Can you talk a little bit about the deferred maintenance funding, kind of the importance of that, what that's going to go towards?
Yeah, so in our state, we've been good at building things. We haven't always been good about maintaining those, and so it's a lot easier to get support on cutting a ribbon than repairing an air conditioner unit. And so we have some deferred maintenance needs at higher ed. We have some within state assets, and we have some state assets that fall under tourism. And so we came to a formula agreement with the House on making sure we meet those needs.
And it's also, and I must have missed this in listening to the session, but the fifth year, there becomes a new apportionment, is that right? A new 50 million, is that to try to head this off at the future?
There's a current apportionment that will be rolling off the books that will be redirected toward this, is my understanding. But it also sunsets, I think after year 4, if I'm not mistaken, on the formula, because right now we know the vast majority of needs lie at the state buildings in the higher ed, but that proportion may shift when we start addressing these needs. And year 1 of the deferred maintenance takes into account that we're putting a lot of capital investment at OU and OSU, and so they don't get any of that year 1 deferred maintenance. It shifts year 2, and then it gives the legislature a chance to reevaluate, I believe in year 4, to say, hey, are we putting the right amount toward higher ed, state assets, and tourism?
Do you know what that current apportionment was by chance? I can ask Hall.
I would ask Hall.
And then lastly, you mentioned OU, the engineering building. I saw that that's running through UHAT.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be an OUHSC building, or is that Norman campus?
Norman campus.
Okay. Why would it run through UHAT then?
I think just the way that the higher ed, if you put money through higher ed, you can't direct some of those monies.
Other than passing the budget and getting that through the process, what do you think are the top 3 priorities for the Senate that still haven't been finished yet?
We just got to get the budget done,
Well,
actually,
other than
too.
the budget.
You know, we're looking really good. I wanted to make sure that we passed the bill dealing with license tax. That was a Greg Treat priority, not necessarily a Senate priority, but the Senate priorities were making sure that we were transparent the whole way through. We've got to deliver on that. That we had $1 billion in cash above and beyond normal savings, and that we didn't erode our revenue picture beyond the largest tax cut in state history. And so we're hitting on all of those cylinders. Each individual member, myself included, still have some bills out there lingering that we'd like to get to the finish line, but the successor or lack thereof of this session will be marked on how we get the budget done.
Aside from the OU-OSU engineering that Trace mentioned, could you speak a little bit on the other education initiatives, increase in funding formula, or career tech?
Yeah, we were trying to get some money to support staff, and we were trying to get some money into career tech, as you said. The compromise ended up being put another $25 million into the formula off of the record amount we put in last year when we passed school choice. So we increased it by $25 million. We delivered on the off the formula teachers for 1 year. The Senate wanted it for ongoing, as the agreement was last year from our understanding. Weren't able to achieve that for in perpetuity, but we're able to make sure we keep our commitment for this year, so you'll see a supplemental on that. And then you'll see a line item bill dealing with the activities fund that we do every year. But we continued our record investment. We didn't let off the pedal on it.
What do you think of the governor's idea of business courts? How do you see that playing out?
You know, I think there's still a lot to be ferreted out about that. Excited about trying to explore it with him and seeing if we can make it all come to fruition. I know some other states have had it for a long time. I know the state of Texas has recently adopted it, but there's still a lot to be learned about it, and making sure that we're a business-friendly state that you can solve contractual disputes in a rapid time frame.
Do you think there will be a special session?
No, I don't know why there would need to be.
And then when will executive nominations go to the floor, specifically for John Eccles for OCCC and Nellie Sanders as Education Secretary?
So John Eccles is not, you're talking about David Eccles, his father?
Possibly, yes.
I think those are both scheduled for Tuesday in committee. We just have to get them done by sine die, so I delegate the floor work to the floor leader team. I don't know when they plan on scheduling it, but I don't anticipate any problems there.
Do you think the Senate's going to hear the State Department of Education rules before signing that?
You know, Senator Bergstrom has the administrative rules. He's been working with Kendricks on some of that. I actually owe Superintendent McDaniel a call with some issues, so I haven't been really involved in the minutiae of that, so I've got to get more educated on that here in the coming days.
One of the executive nominations pending floor consideration is Wes Snowfire for the State Athletic Commission. He's also the governor's Native American liaison, a statutory position. Are you concerned that might be a dual office holding issue?
Could be. That hasn't been brought up to me thus far, so we'll take a look at it.
signed Senate Bill 1835, the Oklahoma Survivors Act. Is there more the state can do beyond that to address domestic violence in Oklahoma?
Oh, sure. I mean, domestic violence is a scourge on our state. It's one of the areas that we lead, and that's very unfortunate that we lead. We've got to continue to invest in criminal justice reform as part of it. We've got to continue to invest in mental health and substance abuse treatment. That's part of it. But we made a huge commitment in getting domestic violence shelters and the like, increasing their base from 7 to 17 in this budget agreement, 17 million. We've put the formula, we're going to put that in statute. That's an agreement between me and Speaker McCall that we've been working with the advocates on. We are absolutely committed to addressing this issue and lowering our numbers here in the state. The issue you brought up, the governor vetoed the original portion of that. We were already working on a trailer that included most, if not all, of what the compromise included, but I'm grateful that he worked with us in good faith to actually get that to the finish line and sign it.
She asked you about Mr. Eccles and Ms. Sanders, and you said you think they're both to be considered?
On Tuesday, I believe.
Tuesday, okay. What, Clay McCall?
I think he's on there too, yeah, if he hasn't already been taken care of, but I believe that will be next Tuesday.
There was some belief about potential horse trading. I know that Senator Pugh had a bill he still would like to get out of the House. What can you tell us about those conversations about those executive noms?
I'm not privy to those. Those, exec noms we take seriously on the Senate side of vetting and making sure that we get it right. So we've denied some in the past for well-justified reasons. Those I had not heard any reason they were not qualified to do the positions in which they were nominated. I know that David Eccles has been serving on the OCCC board with distinction for quite some time. I don't really know Clay McCall. Is this Clay? I've met him in passing, but I know he's been on the school board there in Atoka for some time. So I'm not familiar with the conversations you're talking about.
Okay. And then Zach Archer, I think, is a State Board of Ed member. Any concern? I know that Senator Hicks didn't carry the other State Board of Ed member. I just didn't know if you knew anything about Archer.
The fact that that name's not familiar to me is probably good for him.
That's a quote more.
What about with commerce too?
Yeah, there's some really big concerns about that, the nominee, and that's been assigned to Business and Commerce. That's a decision. I think that's Dave Rader's constituent, and I believe that Dave is willing to carry the nomination. I think the committee itself has some really serious concerns.
House Democrats called for audit into OSDE spending. There's some new reports about maybe missing out on some federal funds. Is that something you would back, or do you have those concerns?
I am concerned to make sure we have accounting for the dollars. You heard during the budget talks about the much reported about 130 employees that are no longer there, and I was trying to figure out if we could pay for the assessments that way. We were told that the House had explored that already and that there was money spent to, when people were terminated for their leave and those type of things. So I think it's always good to know where our dollars are. I don't know the contents of what you're talking about on the House Democrat side. I would want to make sure it's a true audit and not just politically motivated, but I have not seen that, nor have they talked to me about it.
Endorsing anybody in the SD 47 primary?
No.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.